it's helped so many individuals around the world to touch, move, and inspire them, for them to see their potential. It is the book that keeps on giving. But first, let me start where it's important. Why is it important? Like the story right here. I grew up as a little girl with a dream. I wanted to become a teacher, and I was so inspired by that. And I would talk with anybody that would ever listen. I'd run around with my tattered books. Uncle Sergio was the one that would listen most of the time. I was chatting with my older brother. Someday I'm going to grow up and I'm going to become a teacher. What are you going to become? The reality is that I grew up in extreme poverty and abuse. I'd suffer abuse from the age of 3 on, physical, mental, you name it. And by the age of 12, we had moved from point A to point B at the drop of a hat. And it wasn't like the movers are coming. Don't pick up your Barbies, because guess what? There are no Barbies. And I just kept on moving in my life. At the age of 12, I ran away from home, lived with my grandparents for a couple of years. And then I ran away from home again at the age of 14 with my 22-year-old boyfriend. And you would guess it, 2 weeks later, I was pregnant. In another abusive relationship, life didn't seem to be fair, and it wasn't, and it's not for some people. There's a lot of learnings along the way. At the age of 14, I found myself pregnant. And I knew one thing for certain, that my son didn't stand a chance if I didn't create it. And I started to create my own opportunities at the age of 15, knocking on the university doors. First of all, making that decision that I will keep my baby and I will raise my baby. And second of all, is that I will go to university because his life depends on it. There's too much at stake. And I will go after my dream. 8 hours on a bus to and from school. That was just the round trip to and from school. Didn't even count the time that I was sitting there in the classroom, in the snow with a baby, walking uphill both ways. How many of you can relate to that, right? You know that it takes something to get there. At the age of 19, I escaped that relationship, continued on to university. I had divorced my parents at 15, started university at 17, went back at 19, and continued to lead the way for others. So when you say, Joyce, I look young, I definitely hold up my age well. And I continue to move forward to help people see what was possible and probable for them. Moved along the way. I graduated from university, and I'm like, yes, I made it, 3 degrees. I was 24 years old and top of the world. And then I was in a head-on collision. And my life shifted just like that. I was told that I would not walk again. And I said, no, I get to take life into my own hands. At the age of 29, I continued moving forward. I'm like, no, I've got this. I'll figure it out. I know that the mind has the ability to repair the body as long as we hold on to that belief. If I could see myself walk, I will walk. At the age of 29, I was diagnosed with cancer for the first time. And again, at the age of 34. And yet again, now I had another couple of degrees, third business. I was hopping onto my third business, and I realized that now I was beginning to live. And it didn't matter what I had accomplished up until that point. I was on TV, Billboard magazines, had made an impact in education, an impact in community, and I had not begun to live. And then Inventiva was born out of that moment where I was told I had a brain tumor and I can have a stroke and die any moment. I was 34. Continue to move forward through that. I knew if I could see my future, I can live in the future. And that is what I do here today. Today, my son is 30 years old. His name is Victor Manuel. He's a 30-year-old son. I have a 6-year-old grandson, Emilio Manuel. And I am just touched, moved, and inspired by life. I'm moved and inspired by possibility, what is possible and probable for each and every one of us. And it's such a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm excited about presenting the 5 keys to online presence and helping each and every one of you see those opportunities. So does anyone have any questions before I move on to the presentation? Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will move forward with the presentation. So to me, Marketing's been my thing. It's always been my background. It's been at the forefront of everything that I do. And how do we maximize our online presence? Bless you. And I invite each and every one of you, as you're thinking, what are the 5 keys? What would you do with this information? Knowing what do you want to accomplish? And let's take a moment and say, what is your intention with this? Just take 1 minute. What is your intention out of this particular presentation? And write that down, because we get what we intend. And when we write things down, they come to us. It's one of those magical things. What do I want to get? What do I want to create? Who do I want to connect with? Maybe it's growing your business. Maybe it's expanding your market. Maybe it may be even to expand your network. One of the things that I did along my career is that I built my network before I needed it. And I'll share how that happened throughout the years. I wasn't asking, I was contributing. And at the moment that now that I have it, and I'll share it here in a moment, you'll get to see how I was able to do it and the impact of it today. All right, so I see here to attract new clients and generate new revenue. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly why we want to do this. We want to be able to connect, and whatever the reason is for you, it's a very important reason. And let's take a look at that. Joyce, you just mentioned this right here. To me, success isn't a result of spontaneous combustion. You must set yourself on fire. It's up to us to go ahead and do what we want to do. And here we go, from online presence and credibility. It can mean the difference between having a job or not having a job, having clients or not having clients. We're going to look at some of the strengths, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities. COVID has brought us to a completely different level, that we were heading in that direction in terms of working online even more and connecting with people online. It just expedited it. What we have to become more visible and valuable online. One of the greatest things that I learned in my career is to start to build relationships. And I feel like I've mastered the key of what it takes to build a relationship. And I don't even talk about business. I will connect with people for 25 minutes. 25 minutes. That's all I set my appointments for, all around the world. And I can guarantee you about 98% of those individuals will either build a partnership with me based on those conversations, have additional conversations, and promote me. And it's based on a 25-minute conversation. And what does that look like? I want to know about you. I want to know what your superpower is. And these are questions that I ask people when I get online, complete strangers, that I connect with them and I see them there. As a matter of fact, I met many of my partners online in those 25-minute conversations when we did connect and say, hey, I just want to get to know you. Who are you? Like, what makes you amazing? I've cyber stalked them to find out who they are and what they're doing. And I started to engage with them way before I even asked them, in most cases, to even connect with me. So they saw there's an engagement. There's already a knowing of who Rocio is. Like, Rocio's popping up here, now she's popping up there. And that's something that's very key to becoming even more visible and more valuable online. It gives us an opportunity to be able to connect at a very different level. When we're looking at setting, here are the 5 keys to online presence. I'm just going to give you like the short and sweet of everything as you implement any one of these will help you be even more successful online. To build that solid foundation with your network. Too many times I get onto LinkedIn and all of a sudden somebody connects with me, I let them into my network, and they send me literally this much text about them. Okay, I don't want to know about people unless they care. When that person comes to me and starts to say something to the effect like, I want to get to know you, what are you doing, how can I support you, it opens up a huge window. So meet first, build a relationship first before, and this is part of it, getting curious, get curious about the other people, get curious about what they're doing, get curious about what they're into or what they're not into or what they support, the causes that they're working on. Make a friend and be a friend. Make a friend. Just really consider that these individuals are going to be the ones that are going to be championing your products and your services. And let me tell you, most people might get anywhere from 1 to 3 podcast interview or any type of interviews a year if they're lucky. This year so far, I've exceeded over 50. Okay. And that's based on this formula. It is based on connecting with people first. It is based on having and building a solid foundation. As a matter of fact, on a global scale, our event probably was in front of 1 million eyes, just this last event, and marketed through people all over the world. Okay. And some of them didn't even have people that were Hispanic Latinos in their networks, and it doesn't matter. They were still marketing it. And that's the beauty of it, because you don't know who knows someone who can benefit from that. The next part of it is like, how do we engage? How do we engage in making that lasting impression? Really getting interested. I've been to the degree where sometimes I want to connect with somebody who's, and I've done this. We had a campaign that we were connecting with individuals. I would send $5 or $20 Starbucks cards. It depends on who the individual was. Hey, I want to get to know you. How about I buy you coffee and you tell me your story? Those are the very same individuals that are connecting. That's how we're making lasting impressions, building relationships. Now, instead of my network being 10,000 plus, now I have their network as well to be able to connect with. And I can walk up and say, hey, Frank, I'd love for you to go ahead and share this with your network. He's got 20,000 on his network. And Mary's got another 10,000. And somebody's shared events that we have that has 80,000 in their network. So guess what? Every single day I'm accepting new people into my network based on that, based on making sure that I have those relationships. They're solid, they're sharing, they're connecting. Now people are getting curious. They're listening to the podcast. There's so much there. The next part of it is to really know what that social media posting formula is. This is so key. Okay. Once you get those relationships taken care of, what do we do? How do we network? This is how we engage. And for me, my number one network, be thinking about your networks. My number one network is LinkedIn. My secondary network is Facebook. My third one, and this one's tied up, and that one is Instagram, followed by the fourth one, which is Twitter. That's where my audiences are. Know where your audience is. Here's how to engage. 60% of the time to your primary network. Invest 60% of your time into your primary network. The second part of it is how to nurture your relationships. That's maybe you have somebody in there, maybe you're building a new relationship with somebody, whatever that may be, go ahead and do that along the way while you're nurturing that next level of your network. Is it LinkedIn? Maybe it's Facebook first and then LinkedIn second. So maybe it's that 60% to your primary. So know that it's 60% to your primary network, 30% to the one that you're nurturing, the next level up, and 10% to the following one. Okay. So, and then also I actually have those right here in very different ways. So we'll talk about that. So nurture right there, nurture part of the time, connect with people, engage with them, do your self-promotion, be promoting 60% of the time your post. One of the greatest things that I learned, I had a marketing company, I figured out, how do I advance myself like my clients? Like I'm advancing them. How about I turn that marketing into my marketing? And instead of focusing on a marketing company, and I still do consulting on marketing and speaking on marketing, now it's very, very different. When I look at it, I'm the one who's promoting myself 40% of the time, roughly. And then I'm generously promoting other people. What does it look for you to promote other people and saying, hey, Joe, you're doing an extraordinary job? Or Joe, is there anything that I can do to promote your events that are coming up, your products, your services, your events, whatever's there? Or even here's the ones that have surprised me the most, where people actually promoted me before I even knew it. I was so touched, and so were so many other people that were touched. There's been moments where I see people taking a picture with my book and I'm shocked. And they're like, you need to buy Rocio's Unstoppable book. Or I was really, really touched at the beginning of the year. A friend of mine, a new friend of mine who I cyber stalked, and then we became friends and he became a brother to me. He put in this amazing video and he's like, I just want to highlight Rocio, puts it out to the world, to his entire network. And I was shocked. I was moved by that. I didn't ask him. I didn't even know. I just woke up one morning at 5:30 in the morning, opened up LinkedIn, and there's a video about me. He had done his research. And that was not only touching for me, that was touching for others. See, when we touch people, we have their hearts. When we grab their hearts, we can have a different conversation. And then really engaging. How do we engage with other people's posts and a way to be that contributor in different ways? Maybe I'm already with Marianne, you've posted, and now I'm engaging with you and engaging with the people that you're engaging inside of your own post, in your social media post. Now people start to see me as a contributor. When people start to have communication about you inside of your post, that's when really marketing has taken off. That is when your online presence has taken off. And that's the beauty of it. That's where we want it to go, is that people are taking all the conversation themselves. And that's happened to me many, many times where I see, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to work with Rocio. Like, people are making it public. I'm going to be working with Rocio. I've already had conversations. She's already helped me. She's already done things for me. So that's another part of it. Here's the next one that's so, so important. And this conversation is all about you. In a moment when this presentation's over, I want you to ask me your questions because they're so unique to you. This presentation is about you and for you. Making lasting connections. Let's bring our humanity to the picture. I think so many times, and I was there among it in the very beginning, I'm like, oh, let me be 100% professional. Let's bring our humanity. People are seeking kindness. People are seeking connection. There was a gentleman recently who came out, he had won an Emmy and he was in tears, puts it on LinkedIn, says, I didn't know just sharing my story would lead to this. People are starving for a human connection, and especially right now, bringing our vulnerability, talking about ourselves. When people can see relatability in any way, I'm just like you, just telling people I'm just like you. I have a family, maybe I have a dog, a cat, or a husband or wife, a child, whatever that is. I'm just like you. Authenticity. To really, a lot of individuals in my experience, we run around and we're like, okay, let me do a survey poll. What do my clients want? No, be who you be and then offer that, because there's a lack of integrity and it comes through. Just like being on the stage. I remember some time ago that I was volunteering with this organization that put speakers on how to become super wealthy. And they would not put a speaker on the stage that wasn't super wealthy. Why? Because the audience can smell it. They can sense it. We know it. We've been in front of a person, you're like, I'm not too sure. There's something about them. Sometimes, it is about them, like most of the time. And sometimes it's about us. Let's just be honest, because sometimes like, I'm not sure about this person, but it's more about me. Most of the time it's about that person, that there's something that's out of character. I remember not even owning my story and being on stage. You could have put me on a stage for anything. And I could speak on education. I can speak on business. I could speak on marketing. And I've worked in all those areas simultaneously. And at one point when I was doing that, guess what happened? There was something that I just came across so perfect. I came across so professional. Sometimes I even had my friends who say, you're inauthentic. Like, I want to see your human side. Right? So let's show our human. You know what? I cry. I laugh. I sing. I get excited. I get sad. It's okay. And there's a balance between them. So when we bring it onto our online presence, to know that we can connect, that it is our humanity that connects, that people are starving, owning your story. I own the good, the bad, the ugly, the whatever. There isn't anything that somebody can put online about me that I'm going to be shocked about. Because guess what? I have bared it all. It's there. And if there's something that I haven't and somebody says it, I own it. I've been there, I've done that, and it's okay. And to start to connect, right? To really engage, have a plan. How many people do you want to connect with a week? Do you want to connect with 100? Do you want to connect with 20? And it doesn't matter with how many you connect. Are you doing that on an ongoing basis, day in and day out? What's your vision? Where are you going? What are you seeing? People follow people who have vision. People follow people who have vision. And that's one of the beautiful things. For me, my online presence, again, even just a year ago, it shifted dramatically. And I've been doing online work for so many years. Why? Because of these levels of engagement, because bringing my flavor, bringing my vision, my story, the good, the bad, the ugly. And most importantly, here's one of the things that I'd love to ask people, what actions will you do next? Because it's not just listening, right? Because that's easy. We're 35% more motivated to take action when we hear something that's inspiring. We're 91% more likely to achieve our goals when we write them down. And guess what? When we review it within an hour of listening to it, we're like 5 times more likely to achieve it and ingrain that information. And when we make it public, we're 95% more likely to achieve it. So we've listened to it, we've added to a plan of something that I'm going to do, and then we write it down and then have those amazing people. I have people that I bounce ideas off all the time. Oscar's one of them. My branding business partner is one of them. A number of people. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about marketing? What do you think about this message? What do you think? Do you think this will land well? This is my information here. Thank you so much for everything that you bring. At this moment, you can reach me via LinkedIn, you can reach me via email, whatever it is, however you want to reach me. This is my game right here. And I developed the Mind Shift game. And I know you mentioned it, Joyce. I developed the Mind Shift game to help people take that courageous action so that they can build their confidence. Imagine when you're seeing a new vision, the vision of what's possible, probable, what you desire, and then powerfully and energetically stepping into what you desire. Here's my book. I've put the book inside of the chat. In a moment, I'm going to go ahead and put my 1-pager for the game. And then Ripple Effects will be coming out soon as well. We will be launching the game next. The book is available in both English and in Spanish. So feel free. I invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. See what I'm doing from an online presence, going from even using, it doesn't matter what type of budget you have in this moment. The only thing that matters, I'm stopping the share. The only thing that matters is where do you want to go? What do you want to build? But one of the ways to really get engaged is to start getting very curious about even people that are podcasters. Get curious about people that are in media. Get curious, start engaging with people. And especially, like, I know one of my contacts has a daughter who had a health condition when she was born, and she's in a wheelchair forever. I send him gifts on Amazon. Doesn't cost me any extra time. Doesn't do anything, it helps me even see, like, just being grateful for life, to be able to contribute to her, to make her smile for a moment, right? That's so precious in this moment. And we get to do any of that. So I'm going to ask you, this is your event. What questions do you have for me?
Feel free to unmute and fire away or make an observation. What would you like to maybe ask for some clarification or elaboration?
This is Marcia, and I have an observation. I don't have a question, but my observation is that even your voice is very positive. So when that happens, it draws people to you. And I've been told that I do that as well. So I'm so happy to just hear you speak about not only your accomplishments, but those things that you've overcome as well. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And it is positivity, and it's It's what's brought me here. It's what kept me here, possibility and probability and vision.
Yeah.
What's possible. Here's one of the things, and I'll share from my coaching experience, okay? Because I'm a coach, I'm a leadership coach, and I help people create the most extraordinary mindsets possible. Whatever we think we get, we start it with the intention. Too many times I've been in networking events where people are like, well, I knew that that advertisement wasn't going to work. I knew it from the beginning. See, we start to self-sabotage. And then we wonder why we don't get what we desire. Okay. What if we come at it like, I know this is going to happen. Like, it was a long shot. Let's just be honest. Okay. I was 15 years old. I had a 6th grade education. How was I going to get into college? It was virtually impossible. Yet at the age of 15, I divorced my parents so that I can go to university. How do you get this 12-year-old teenage runaway to be recognized and published in the International Social Health Sciences Journal? And I say it for the same thing. Whatever energy we bring in, whether it's to our online presence, whether it is into our business, whether it is into the conversation, and people want to be around with people who are authentic, right? And they want to be with people that are inspiring as well, right? And we all have that inside of us. It's there. And it's there. Our products, our services have a story. Why do you do what you do, Joe? I'm just going to ask a question. Why do you do what you do?
With 2 Joes.
Oh, let's go. Thank you for letting me know. Let's go ahead and go with the one who unmuted first.
Can you say that again? Why do I do what I do?
Why do you do what you do?
I have a kind of similar life experience to yours. I went through a very challenging time in my life, and I came out on the other side, and I learned a lot of lessons, and it's my goal in life to give some of that knowledge back and help people find a path forward.
And I love it, right? You use your story and what you've lived through to be able to guide, because we've all been through adversity, right? How many of you would agree? Anyone who's never gone through adversity? Because we need to put them in a glass case in a museum so we can all see them, right? We've had some form of adversity. Maybe we started a business and we fell on our face. Maybe somebody said they were going to do something and we fell on our face and they didn't follow through. Maybe whatever that maybe was, when we share enough about us, people want to connect. They want to do things. I have people that during COVID, I had met, how many of you know Ted Baker, ladies, men? Okay. Ted Baker, tell us, Joe, Joe Taylor, tell us who Ted Baker is. And you're on mute.
You're still muted.
There you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm from England, so the Ted Baker I'm thinking of is a designer, but
Yes, you're right.
Really? Okay.
You're right.
Okay. I thought you might have been referring to somebody else worldwide.
Nope, you are from England, and yes, Ted Baker. Here's what's interesting. During COVID, I met 3 of my advisors are from Ted Baker for my game. How do you get that? Not only that, based on my online presence, based on my relationship building, guess who I'm meeting on Thursday?
Ted Baker.
And I'm sure I have access to him. Joe Vitale. Joe. Okay. Not only that, guess what? Based on my relationships and what I built, I am part of a group out of the UK that has less than 100 members that includes Joe Vitale and Joe Foster, who brought Reeboks to become Reeboks. And the cream of the crop of their fields are part of this group. And guess what? I'm right there. Based on a 25-minute conversation. and taking a chance and really being willing to go through the marketing process. Again, I do consulting on the marketing process and can help you create some messaging that engages people. If any of you that are interested as you're interested, reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, connect with me. What other questions do you have?
I guess I have sort of a couple of very literal questions. When you were talking about the social media post and thinking of what's your primary network, secondary, maybe it's just terminology, but when you say engage, nurture, contribute, you say engage 60% of the time on your primary network, nurture the next level up. So what's the difference between, let's say, engage and nurture?
So
And
the difference, you're nurturing relationships on there.
Right.
Okay. And then when you're engaging with your particular audience. And that's a distinction. So engage.
But what does engagement look like? So I guess they feel so similar to me. So I guess I just need to parse them about.
Definitely. Having the conversations with people, having people contribute. See, LinkedIn in general is going to score us. There's in the algorithm, right? When people comment on our post, it's going to have a better algorithm. When they like it, that's the next level. We want to put out content that engages.
Right.
We want to put out that content that's going to make people have a conversation. Invite people to have a conversation on there. Put your comments below. What do you think? This is what I think. Put your comments below. What are they? And there's ways of doing that, and we can talk about those as well.
Okay. So engagement and maybe might be more public, possibly. Yeah. I'm guessing, I think I'm getting this. And nurturing could be more in one-on-one or more about the 25-minute type of thing, potentially, correct?
Right, that you get to continue. And I say, hey, Joy, what are you working on? How can I support you?
Right.
How can I engage? How can I help you with your social media?
Right. How did you pick 25 minutes? Like that long versus 30 or an hour or 15? Whatever.
I've been doing this for 25 years, sitting in front of people.
Right.
And Joyce, around the time that you and I met a few years back, I realized what was the key for it and what worked and what didn't. Most of the time, it would take me an entire year to develop a relationship with somebody. And around that time, I had shifted my formula because, we come in with our business representative. Let's just be honest. How many of you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Come in with our business representative. In the way of being, we show up and like, oh, this is what I sell for a business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. That conversation's so superficial. How many get it?
Mm-hmm.
It's very superficial. It would take me an entire year to build a relationship with somebody. And most of the time, if I didn't sit down and have lunch or dinner, depending on the culture with the person, we didn't have a relationship. If there's no food with an Italian, you're not going to get there. How many of you know what I'm talking about, right? If there's no food right there, it's like, oh, but I met you 20 times. Why? Well, we need to break bread. That breaking of the bread, that connection. When I shifted my questions to what's your superpower? What led you here today? And I would be writing these down myself right now. What led you here? What were the 3 things that shaped you? Why and what specifically do you do what you do? Why? Like, I want to know. Tell me your story. And I realized that when I took that, people wanted to engage with me. And I did it on Zoom. I first did it in person. And then when I took it onto the Zoom world, I said 25 minutes, that's all I have because I need a break. Plain and simple, I needed a break. Okay, I needed to be able to stretch and get a glass of water in between meetings. And I said, how about I do it 25 minutes? Because I tried the half an hour. I've tried the hour. 25 minutes, we know that's all we have. And when I start immediately and say, tell me about your superpower, and people start to engage, and when they feel heard first, then they're much more generous to come back over to us. Well, Rocio, how about you tell me your story? Like the first Ted Baker person that I came across, Joe, that person said, I'm going to help you. I am going to help you. To this day, he's helping me for free. because they engage with my story. They advise me, and they built a relationship. And that relationship had to do that I was generous with them first. I wasn't there to jump in there and say, hey, you know what, help me out because of my story. I was like, tell me about you. And then it turned over to me. Tell me about you. And then we're so inspired. It's like, I want to do something for you. I see your vision. I see your vision. What else?
I have two quick things I'd like to chime in on, and then go Lori. Well, Lori, you go first. Then I have a couple things real quick. Yeah.
I just wondered if you could talk a few minutes about the different platforms, because you told us LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter kind of in that order, because I know there's a different demographic on those, right? And people think you have to be more professional on LinkedIn. And I'm a marketing consultant. So it's like, I kind of struggle walking that line between, because I'm a very big fan of all the things you said, and you're the only one that has your story. Nobody else absolutely could have a different story, you know, same story as you. We all have unique stories, and you should share them. Business is not about money. It's not about numbers. It's about people, right? But even still, if you look at LinkedIn and you look at some of the different platforms, how do you decide what kind of things and how much you're going to share, comparing the platforms to each other?
So for me, from a LinkedIn perspective, it's always been professional for the most part, with vulnerability. That's
Right.
the part of it, right? Because we think it's just like business, right? And it's like all very cerebral. And let's talk about our humanity. So to me, you can bring humanity into LinkedIn. As a matter of fact, more people that are bringing in their humanity into LinkedIn are connecting even more. Okay, that's where we're seeing the post go from. Normally it would be 100. I've had 5,000 people engage with my post. I've seen people that engage with other people their post to the tunes of 20s of thousands, right? Because of that. So when you're talking about LinkedIn, to me, that's my number one. That's where my audience is, because it's leadership. Know your audience. Maybe you're selling to the crowd that's between 40 to 60 years of age. That's where I would jump over to Facebook. That's where Facebook, you know, these are moms, you know, maybe newly empty nesters that are engaging.
Right.
That's a whole different crowd. You know, is that the crowd that you're marketing to? Know your audience first and foremost. Who is your audience? And follow where they're at. This is what we talk about. There's a difference between, and I come from a marketing background, coming in from a demographic. We typically only see the demographics. Okay. Let's take a look at the psychographics. What are the beliefs of these individuals? Where do they spend their time? Do they go to football games? Do they go to basketball games? Do they go to mommy clubs? Do they hang out with entrepreneurial groups? Whoever our audience is, that's where we must be spending our time, right? And as long as we're in alignment with them, because if we're not in alignment with them, we can sell them whatever we want. Nobody's going to be buying. Let's just be honest. Maybe like Anthony Robbins says, you know, maybe some people buy because they're kind of in the fence and not quite convicted to the product or service. How about they buy because we're like, that's our passion. Like, I don't sell books. I sell vision. I sell confidence. I sell energy. I sell passion. Okay. And you know it as well as I do, Lori, from a marketing perspective. We don't sell pillows, do we?
Nope.
We sell comfort.
Right.
So when we start to shift the way that we see our business, that we're selling the end result, what is the end result that you're selling? For me, I sell confidence, courage, vision, power, and energy. That's what I sell. I don't sell books. I don't sell games. I sell a better future.
Right.
And know that. And then when we're looking over at the Instagram, you know, people are posting, it's a younger crowd. They're more interested in like quick, I want to see a picture, engagement. It depends on who your audience is, right? Twitter is not something that I use much of for the same reasons, right? The people that I'm connected with, what they believe and what they're aligned with is to get more information. They want to know, like, Rocio, give me the 3 tips. And you'll see this because sometimes when I have left it out, They're like, Rocio, but I want to know, like, tell me, what are the 3 tips? Now they're engaged. Okay, great. Congratulations, right? Sometimes I'll have 4, 5, 6 people commenting on the same thing. And now they're engaging inside of those comments with each other under one post.
Right.
That's very cool.
All right, awesome. Does that answer your question?
Mhm.
Thank you.
I was going to say just a couple quick things. As most of you know, I recently broke my right wrist. That is my dominant hand. And it was very challenging to deal with life. So what I documented this on social media, not every day or anything, but every few weeks I'd give an update, starting, with me with the cast in the emergency room and all, up to where I could drive again. And so what I came up with is to make an observation about where my head was at, what's going on, what am I learning about myself, what lessons am I getting out of this experience. And I would say those are my highest performing posts on LinkedIn ever. 5,000 people would see them. I wouldn't get that many comments. I have never seen that kind of reaction. Amazing. So that reiterates your point. And secondly, when you asked me to promote the event today, I went, get this, or I do have 10,000 connections, so I guess I have a little bit edge up on maybe the average guy or gal, but I went to my first level connection with the word diversity anywhere in their profile. I have 500 or 499 to be specific, first level connections with diversity. And I went through every single one of them. This is because I love Rocio. And I thought, okay, who could and I found 40 people that I then sent the information about the event. And I know that some went.
And that's amazing. And thank you so much.
That's leveraging my network to help out someone I really care about. So, and that didn't take me that long when you think about it. So that's what she asked me to do. Well, would you spread the word? And I thought, okay, well, this would be, then I shared her posts and stuff too. But that's a thing, that's just a little extra step that you can do for people. So that's not your relationship.
Joyce, you also shared, and you also did something else because you also then thanked people who joined.
Yeah.
You actually sent another note out after you did that to say, I see you joined. Thanks. Can't wait to see you. So the connection is the engagement is mutual.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Continuous.
Right.
And
so that's just an example. Yeah, we have a few more minutes yet. If we have another comment or questions.
Joe is on there. I'm just going to give you an example of when I sent that message out to Joyce, okay? And see what you hear in all of this here. Lovely.
I'm sorry, Joe, because I missed your hand, but yeah, you're coming.
Yes, we'll go right over to you, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't putting my hand up.
No, it's Joe Maddox.
Joe Maddox. Joe Maddox. So I'm going to share this really quickly. When I did on there, I said, Joyce, I hope I hope life has been treating you well. I've heard about, I'm sorry. No, that wasn't you. That was me on there. But I just said, you know what, Joyce, I'm helping Latinx leaders. Would you help me? Something to that effect, right, Joyce? Would you help me about, to promote this event? It was short and sweet.
Oh, yeah. Very.
And I provided her the date, the time.
Yeah, you gave me that Eventbrite link and you made it really easy for me then to promote your event. That's really what you got to do.
And I'm going to just share the post right here. I'm going to put it in the chat. So you can see how simple that was.
Yeah.
And in there. And here you go.
Perfect.
Posting on the chat. Oop, let's see what's happening with my chat over here. It's being a little rebellious. Let's see. Oops. All right, in the meantime, let's go ahead and go over to you, Joe, and I'll post this in a moment.
Yeah, I just want to maybe get a little bit of clarification about what was said about the different networks. And this might be getting into semantics, but I think I heard you, Lori, say, keep things on LinkedIn more professional versus your other social networks. For me, my ideal client is hanging out on Instagram and on LinkedIn, and it would feel very disingenuous to show up differently on one versus the other. I don't want my ideal clients seeing one side of me in one place and a different side of me in the other, because that just doesn't seem like the genuine version of me. So can you?
That's why I asked. That's why I asked that, Joe, because I think you have to be who you are. And that's why I'm curious, like when I'm being who I am on Facebook, maybe I share more, but I don't share differently. That's kind of what I was driving at. You know what I mean? So like on LinkedIn, I don't want to appear different because I think that there's a big disconnect with that, right? So that, yeah, that was more my question is how, not what kinds of things do you share, how much do you share? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked for clarification.
I
Joe.
will
Yeah.
echo what's being said, and that being vulnerable and being genuine, like that's where I shine with people. That's where
Yeah, you do.
clients that I work well with. Those are my people. And I found early on that if I can show up like that continuously, whether it's clients or in a networking sense, then relationships blossom and are so much better than if I'm not my truest self. So I don't want to, and again, if this is your strategy, I don't want to poo-poo on that. But for me personally, like showing up in the same way across all my networks is very important to my brand.
Right. And there's a level of authenticity, right? There's certain things that, even though we're still that person, and I think about it as I have friends from all over the world, I'm going to show up in my authentic self. And it's different the way there's that subtle difference that I'm going to show up around my grandmother, right? I don't go like be fully rambunctious Rocio because grandma can't handle her, right? I'm still Rocio. I'm still heart connected. My message is still the same. It's just maybe toned down a little bit. Maybe I don't share the 10 things that I would normally share, and I just share 2. Right. And I know that in different cultures, like when I've been in with Bosnian people, when I've been with people from all over the world, it's different. Rocio is still Rocio. And it's just, you share certain things to meet the people that are there. You still bring you.
Essence of you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions, commentary, anything else you'd like to bring up? Thinking I'm gonna recording. Oops, pause. Out of leadership.